I have a really nice laptop for you guys here. This is a Dell Alienware X16X Aurora. So what this is one of their Aurora laptops. The Aurora is kind of the mid-range stuff. So when you get into Alienware, you can get the Area 51. Area 51 is their like super premium, everything's premium, max performance, max everything, super nice audio, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. When you get into the Aurora, you don't get all of the benefits of the Alienware Area 51, but you do bring cost down. So that makes sense. This one is meant to be more affordable than the Area 51, but still quite premium and still quite performant. This is a relatively thin gaming laptop, relatively thin. It's not as thin as kind of like the hybrid type laptops out there that people call gaming laptops. This is a true gaming laptop, but it is pretty thin. It's not the lightest laptop because it is, there's a lot of metal here, cooling, all that kind of stuff, but it is quite performant. This here is decked out with the brand new, or the revision to the Arrow Lake Intel chip. This has the 290HX. I've already tested it and I've compared it to the 275HX. Both are good, but the 290HX does offer considerable performance boost. So if you do a lot of heavy CPU tasks, it's awesome. Of course, we're decked out with the sweet spot of this GPU generation, the 5070 Ti. 5070 Ti has 12 gigabytes of VRAM. It's not super high watts, it's not super low watts, it's kind of right in the middle. It's also efficient, so when you increase or decrease the watts, you get good performance regardless. And it does offer noticeable uplift over something like a 50, 50, 60, and 70. There's some real secret sauce with this laptop here. I don't want to spoil the whole video, but if you're looking for a really nice laptop, this might be an option for you. I will put some links in the video description down below if I can find some. If there's affiliate links, I'll add them. I'll let you know that they are affiliate links. Help support the channel because I don't take sponsors. But generally speaking, let's look at this laptop and see how good it is. Okay, so here is the laptop. This is the same chassis basically from last year, 2025, with a spec bump is what we're looking at here. So there's the 275HX, which is a really good CPU, but now we do have the 290HX. So we do go with that. When you do the 290HX, you do get a full suite of bumps here. You get a 5070 Ti. You also get from the IPS screen, which is a very good IPS screen, but now all of a sudden you get up to the OLED screen, which is obviously going to be quite nice. And of course, you're going to get the higher wattage charger. So generally speaking, I mean, if you're going to grab this laptop and you're just looking for, good gaming, but you don't need super high performance gaming or anything like that, you can get the 5070, of course. The 5070 Ti will add not only more VRAM, 12 gigabytes, but a decent amount more performance. RAM, of course, you can customize SSD as well. That screen's really quite interesting there, that high quality OLED, and it's an anti-glare screen, which is really nice. So not on sale right now on the Dell website, but they have sales all the time, so you can check it out. That's the spec there. We have a few different options. You can, of course, still go with the stuff from last year, but that new CPU and then bumping up that 5070 Ti is what we have today, and it should offer pretty good performance. Okay, so here's a look at the laptop. Very clean presentation. You will get some fingerprints on it, but it's very easy to wipe down because it does have that glossy metal lid. So over time, if you do get some fingerprints, just give it a quick wipe. You can see it dries nice and quick. It does have that lovely blue, I'm not sure, like a midnight blue type thing, metallic, that a lot of the Alienwares use now. It's quite nice. It's a very good color, to be honest, very nice. A little bit of like accent type stuff. That doesn't serve any real purpose other than to just look nice. Right? Clean lid here. It's, I mean, the gaming laptop, first and foremost, but it doesn't scream like gamer vibes, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with gamer vibes, but some people don't want that, obviously. Looks pretty nice. Very good. A little bit thicker, obviously, right? It's a gaming laptop, focus on performance. So it's going to be a little bit thicker. It has that sort of intake there. You'll see when we do the teardown, but that intake, you can see there's no like holes in there. It's actually going to pull air into the device here and help cool the whole motherboard over there. So very interesting kind of design there. Let's take a quick look at the weight. So that's 2600. So again, not the latest thing, but it's a performance-focused laptop, obviously. It does charge over USB-C, so no problems there. If you just want to take this with you to work, to school, whatever, your commute, and you don't want to take the big power brick with you, you're not going to be doing heavy gaming or anything like that, you can just use this off USB-C. It has no problems, works just fine. It does come with a large power brick, obviously, which is going to be good because it does use a lot of power. 280 watts, it's pretty thin actually. So nice if you do want to take it in a backpack or a bag, it does actually slide into a pocket pretty easily. And it's actually fairly light considering how big it is. It's not exactly light considering it's big, but right, you're looking at 800 grams. So the whole carry here, I mean, it is going to get up there a little bit in weight, but again, gaming laptop focus on performance, and you don't have to take the high wattage charger with you unless you need it for gaming type thing. Of course, as a result, it feels incredibly robust, right? Metal top, metal bottom. There is some plastic on the inside, but as a result of it, it feels very premium because you have the metal encased on the outside. Very premium, very robust, no flex. Right, nothing like that. Very good. Left side, we do have the first exhaust, RJ45 Ethernet, the type that hides, which is very nice as well. USB-A, microphone, headphone, combo jack. Right side, nothing. And then on the back is where you get most of your what I call annoying ports, the big ones, right? You get your barrel plug, which is a big port that's going to be off there. HDMI is a big cable that would come off there if you're plugging it into a monitor or something, you slide it up, so those are good. You do get another USB-A and two USB-Cs. My only critique, and that's Thunderbolt by the way, the only critique I would say here is I would like to see one of the USB-Cs on the side. You do have USB-A, but I would like to see one of the USB-Cs over here. That's my only complaint, honestly, on the externals, literally all of it. Of course, this one, nice and fast. You can't really see that; it's hard to see on camera, but that is a 5 gigabit port, so you're going to get. That's good for like actually gaming off of if you have like an external type thing. Thunderbolt, as I said before, and you actually have display over there as well. HDMI, so it looks good. Inside, very clean setup here. So you have that same kind of blue. Now this is a plastic chassis, but there's no flex on it, right? Like none. You'd have to press, if this was pure metal, it would have the same amount of flex, right? None here. This is a very robust chassis here, feels very nice. Trackpad, well sized, we'll get into that a little bit later as well. Some grill up here. You can see that. Potentially some air flowing through there as well. And then simple design here, not huge bezels or anything like that. Right? Nice, simple, clean setup. Obviously, it is a gaming laptop, but it doesn't scream gaming laptop. You could have this in a setting where you don't want, the laptop to draw attention, and it would be very discreet. Just a nice, clean, very clean, honestly, blue laptop. Color's nice and everything too. So, I like this Aurora. I like the Aurora blue that they go with. It's quite nice. So let's get it booted up, and we'll start throwing some benchmarks at this thing. Okay, so let's get into the laptop here. Just some standard screws to come out. The top right one here does appear to be a lock screw, which is pretty common. See that? So don't worry about that coming out. It just doesn't come out, essentially. This one here should come out, I believe, unless it's also a lock screw. Nope. So one lock screw, the rest seem to come out. Okay, now getting into it should be, just take your time. One of the nice things about the lock screws is they tend to push open the laptop. So you can see there, it's locked in there with a washer, but it actually creates a gap. So that's where you're gonna wanna get in there, where that lock screw is, and just go along, just like that. Very simple, right? Go through the back kind of thing like that, get some separation. You can come down the side, like so. Now this side is of course up here. We have our lock screw over there. Lock screw. And there you go, very easy. Those back lock screws, I actually kind of like quite a bit. They just basically have a washer on them. And so it prevents them from coming out because they're washered on the back, but it also allows the laptop to be propped up. So the bottom here is a nice metal piece. Lots of structure inside of that, like actually quite a bit. We have some pads here which will sit on top of the battery just to help prevent impact to the battery if you set this down hard, which is always nice. This is a pretty thick piece of metal. Lots of structure in here between the plastic structure pieces and the metal itself. So that's good. Feels nice and rigid. And here is a look inside of the laptop. So obviously these are going to be pretty impressive laptops overall. We have the speakers, which are probably the least impressive part of these. It's separating itself out from the higher end Alienware Area 51. The Area 51 has more advanced speakers. Typically these are going to be a little bit more budget friendly, so they're one step down. We'll see how they sound, but typically they don't sound bad. They're just not going to compete with the higher end stuff, obviously. Gigantic battery, 96 watt hour battery is fantastic. You can't really get much bigger. You could get 99, so that's very nice, obviously. You have your first NVMe here. It does come with just a 2230 actually with a heatsink on it, but it's fully capable of hitting a 2280. And there's a ton of room in there for a dual-sided, so that's fantastic. I don't mind them putting in a 2230 when it has support for a full-size one. I don't have any problem with that at all, to be honest. And then, of course, you have another one over here, another 2280 and capability to put 2230. So that's nice. I mean, it's nice to give me options. I'm never going to say no to more options. Wi-Fi is right under here, which is, of course, upgradable. Leave that on because I'm going to take that off. So there's the Wi-Fi up there. And then your RAM is actually just under here, 1 stick, 2 stick, and of course that's going to be DDR5 memory, 16 and 16, so that's 32 gigabytes. Very easy to upgrade there. Now the cooling, the actual cooler, is on the inverse one. So this is one of those inverse motherboards. Dell has done this in the past with the Alienware stuff. And some people critiqued it because in some cases, the actual RAM and the SSDs were on the backside. That's not the case here. So the cooling is on the backside, but the NVMe's and the RAM is over here. So and the Wi-Fi. So I see nothing wrong with this. Typically, these type of laptops servicing the cooling nowadays with modern pastes, modern PTM, that kind of stuff, we're looking at like a decade later, really like a decade later, where you'd be like, all right, let's take this off and maybe check it out, add some new paste, add some new cooling, PTM, whatever it is. So there's no problem there. I mean, you're looking at 10 years down the road type of thing. And even so, it's not that hard to take this out. You can really just see, just take out a bunch of screws there and the whole unit will just pop right off. It'll be that, all the screws there, take it off. You can service it, but you shouldn't be doing that anyways, to be honest. You should have a service tech do that, so it's no problem. Everything that the user would get this laptop and potentially upgrade, SSD, RAM, and Wi-Fi, is very readily accessible. So now one other note about the cooling, I'm going to actually have this on a bit of an angle, can show that. So you can see here the fans are pulling directly in, right? But there's actually no spot for them to pull in there. So it's not pulling air directly in and then exhausting out. What it's actually doing here is it's actually pulling air in here into the fans and then out. So what's happening here is it's actually forcing air to come in, cool all these components here, then to be sucked into the fans and shot out the back and sides there. That's not a problem. I mean, honestly, as long as there's enough airflow coming through here and it has enough suction to pull through there, it's not going to be a problem. It's actually going to help with cooling things like RAM and other VRMs in there in general, which is one of the issues with a laptop, whereas in desktop you can have a large cooling system going through. Here we don't have that. So this could actually result in potentially cooler RAM, SSDs, and other things where you're pulling air through these gaps here. You're pulling air in there, and then it's exhausting out rather than just going directly into the fans to cool the CPU and GPU and out. And there's no airflow in the rest of the laptop. Here we should have some decent airflow throughout the chassis itself. So that's clearly an engineering decision that they've done to keep some of the other internals cool. So here we are booted into Windows. Again, nice clean setup here. You'll notice right off the bat, we'll get into the screen later, but you can see that noticeable lack of glare is obviously fantastic. That's why I tend to lean towards IPS screens. Call me crazy, but there are obvious benefits to IPS screens. Everybody's different for what you want though. Let's come in here, we'll just do a quick typing test though, and we'll start off with that kind of stuff. So it is a very low profile key cap. You can see that the actual physical key cap is very low, like very, very, very thin little keycaps to keep the laptop thinner, but they do still have a lot of travel. See that nice and snappy? And lots of travel. So that's obviously gonna be quite nice. Full-size keyboard over here, and generally speaking, what you'd consider a full-size numpad as well. So as a result, the trackpad is slightly off to the side, right? It's not directly center of the laptop, but that's because when you're typing, like, you're over here, for example, on that type of keyboard, then the trackpad had to be centered. Here, you're actually shifting your hands over to type over here, so the trackpad must be centered under the keyboard itself, not under the whole laptop. It wouldn't make sense if it was over here, because then you'd be typing here and you'd have to come over to use the trackpad. So that's totally fine. Centered out there. You do have your function keys here. You have some macros up here, which you can use M1, M2, M3. Brightness up, brightness down kind of stuff. We'll get into that in a second. Alienware stealth mode. That's one of the performance modes. And you have performance mode here. You can switch these on and off. We'll get into performance mode when we do game testing a little bit later. Let's go into stealth mode just so it's nice and quiet. Okay, we'll do a quick type here. Yeah, it's a great keyboard, honestly, great keyboard. Typically I find Alienware just have nice keyboards overall. I mean, honestly, most Dells have good keyboards, generally speaking, like as a brand. So that's good, as expected, nice and snappy. The key caps are like physically short, but that's okay because the travel is high. Like it's not, this ain't no MacBook keyboard where it's like, mew, 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 mew. You actually get some travel here, so that's really nice, obviously. The trackpad, again, it's not gigantic, and I'm fine with that. I've never been one to need a gigantic trackpad. I'm sorry to gigantic trackpad people. Yeah, like, you know, I have a MacBook. It's cool, whatever. I don't care that the trackpad is that big. It's not a requirement of me. Now, it's not a glass-covered trackpad. It is plastic, but it does feel smooth, smoother than the chassis itself. So it's quite smooth, nice and sharp and precise. Trackpads these days are all generally pretty precise. Now, the click is important to me. See that nice consistent click across the way? It's a short travel click. So it's not a deep plunge. Some laptops have deep plunges, which can feel kind of muddy and gross. I don't like that. And it's not too loud, but it does have a nice little pop to it. I like laptop trackpads like that have a little bit of a pop to them, nice and snappy. I like it. I like tactility in my thing. So that's good, very good. No problems there whatsoever. So let's have a quick look at what programs are on here. Typically, Alienware does not come with really any bloatware or anything like that. So we have Command Center, obviously keep that. This is, I don't know what that is, but whatever. You do want to keep that, and you want to keep these. Support assists are very important. There's the true Dell Support Assist software. This is just to help with updates. This is for audio, so you want to keep those as well. It allows you to play with audio and visuals, that kind of stuff. Don't know what that is. That might be something you potentially take off. And otherwise, it looks good. And mercifully, no McAfee. Okay, so this is Dell Support Assist. This is a very important program here. Very important program. You can see it's the Alienware version, but it's Dell Support Assist. This is critical software. Don't remove this off your laptop. It's lightweight. You don't even have to run it. You just run it when you want to. It's important for getting warranty service. Dell does have good warranty and direct warranty contact. I went through Dell warranty once before on a laptop, actually broke the laptop, like it was my fault, but whatever. I went through the support, it was good, so you can do that in here. The other thing is you can come in here and you can do things like updates. There's optimization kind of stuff here, we'll do that later. Tells you what's going on with your system right now, but updates are very important. So you come in here, you can do this directly from the Dell website. You can go into the Dell website and you can update directly that way, but I just do it in here, right? This will give you all your hardware level updates. Generally speaking, you don't want to update your hardware from the Windows update. Like you can come down here and you can go Windows Update. That updates Windows software. That's what you want to do there. Generally speaking, though, you want to get your updates from the OEM being Dell Alienware in this case. So you come in here, you do your updates. I've already done this. I've had this laptop for a couple weeks now. You come in here, you do your updates. It'll update your BIOS, is very important. Updating your, oh, there is updates. I mean, I haven't done this in a couple weeks. Let's see what they've got for us. Let's see what you got here, Dell. So that's Support Assist. We do have some, Intel drivers make sense. And there's actually a new BIOS too. Okay, very good. Oh, it's new. Have I had this laptop since then? I mean, they did send it a while ago. You can come in here and you can get, your Intel hardware type stuff. You can decide which of these you don't want, for example. BIOS support updates are very important on these because they help with things like power, performance, security, all that kind of stuff. So you want to get this through here. Recovery tools and some Intel stuff. So we're actually going to do this update. We can run that in the background. Very important. After you do that, then you'd come in here and you'd go to your Windows updates to update all your Windows kind of crap. Sure. But you don't want to necessarily do any hardware updates from Windows itself. Okay, now here we are all updated. I just let Support Assist do its thing. Come in here. It also updated Command Center. Now, Alienware Command Center is also critical software. It's used to control your device beyond, like that's for Support Assist for warranty updates, that kind of stuff. This is for actually controlling your software, or your hardware, sorry. So you come in here, you can see it's first launcher. When you get games installed, you can launch them directly from here, especially if you use multiple launchers, that's cool. Vital statistics about your system. Performance is set to quiet and stealth mode, so we have stealth mode, performance mode, quiet, etc., etc., etc. You can see here you can show performance or cooling. We do have access to a MUX switch, MUX switch, meaning you can disable the integrated graphics. So if you go with hybrid, you'll be able to use both. You'll be able to use the iGPU and also the dedicated graphics. You might get a little bit of a performance drop on hybrid graphics in pure gaming scenarios because typically the IGP will pull a little bit of power. It's not typically that much, but it can be a little bit. If you just want to always use your DGPU, you just turn on the mux switch, go DGPU and reboot. You of course do have access to stuff like your Dolby Audio here. You can play with it here. I usually just leave it on music. It's just fine. It comes in fine. When you click on that, it'll pop up. So if you hit stealth mode, you can see that the performance mode disappears. Performance settings, sorry, disappear. It's in stealth mode, quietest mode, everything's trying to be quiet. Hit stealth mode off, it's just a button there, a little stealth bomber, and all of a sudden now you have battery, quiet, balanced performance. Highest wattage, medium, medium, low, and absolute lowest. It will affect fan profiles. It will also affect performance and thermals because it's going to increase or decrease the watts to your system. You can also just hit that there performance, it just goes full bore. Rage mode. The fans will go even if it's not doing anything as a result. So you probably don't want to do this if you're just hanging out windows because your fans will go for no reason. If you're in a super hot environment and you're just like, I just want this thing to rip, yeah, you can do that. But typically, I do not do that. I just leave it in. It's good for just quick toggle, like boom, quick stealth mode out of a game. But typically I use these here. Performance, balanced, quiet, and battery. So let's actually get into some performance testing now. We'll do some Cinebench for CPU performance, thermals, and noise. And then we'll also do some gaming and that kind of stuff. Now the screen on this laptop is incredible. Just spoiler, it has one of the nicest screens I've ever used on a laptop. So we get 1600p, which is awesome at 16-inch. You're gonna get really good pixel density. Very nice. You do have very high refresh, 240 hertz, which is awesome. VRR. Now they do have two options, as I mentioned before. They do have the IPS model here, but today we're looking at the step up, which comes with the 290. When you configure it, it comes with the 290 HX. This is an incredible spec screen. Not only is it 16-inch, 1600p, you then get an OLED. Now, if you watch my channel, you know that I have ups and downs when it comes to OLEDs. One of my biggest issues with OLEDs is the fact that typically they are paired with highly glossy screens. Now, I work in an environment that is often very bright. Sure, for gaming, glossy screens are not necessarily as big of an issue because you're probably not gaming in a super bright room. Maybe you are. But that gloss can drive me crazy because it's very glossy, reflective. It can actually hurt my eyes sometimes when it's really glossy because you're always fighting through the reflections. And of course, it takes away from the immersion when gaming because you're seeing reflections all the time. This is an anti-gloss OLED, anti-glare OLED. So you'll see here, you can't see me reflective. Even in darker scenes, right, we'll come in here, for example, like you can see that single pinpoint of light. That's a huge light behind me. Very, very, very bright light behind me. And it's just one tiny little reflection. If I turn that off, you'll see that that essentially fades and we no longer have that. It's basically perfect. If that was a glossy OLED, you'd be able to see the whole background behind me. It would be a straight up like mirror, right? So we don't have that problem. We don't have that reflectivity issue. Awesome. But because it is OLED, we do benefit from the fast response times. We also do benefit from the absolute blacks. We'll get to there in a minute. Now it's also crazy high color value. 100% DCI-P3 is like, that's like gold standard. I'm extremely happy with that on a laptop. This actually offers more color volume. What does that mean? It means it can push further into the reds and greens and that. So you're gonna get very good color space here. Reasonably bright too. It's not the brightest screen, like there are brighter screens out there. It's not some tandem OLED, you know, 500-600 nit in SDR or anything like that, but that's okay. Like, I mean, you have to at some point draw the line here. So as I mentioned before, it's a OLED. So we get absolute blacks here. These are really good blacks. We're in a dark room, or in a bright room here. Those blacks are looking real nice. Normally you would actually, if this was an IPS, it wouldn't look absolute black. You'd get kind of bleed out of it because the pixels are on. On an OLED, those pixels are off there, right? And it's anti-glare. So you can see there, I have a huge window beside me right over here, huge window. And it is, you can see it on the screen, but it's barely showing up compared to a non-glossy OLED, sorry, a glossy OLED, where it would be like a reflective mirror, right? So that's awesome. So you're gonna get those absolute blacks, very immersive as a result when you're in, you know, scenes, dark scenes, video games, shows, that kind of stuff. And of course, because we do have that incredibly high color space, things like reds are gonna come up super red, very vibrant, like a a royal red. Lower color space, especially like, 100% sRGB, you start to lose some of that vibrant red. And when you go below that, you actually lose most of the red. It'll go into like an orangey pink type color. We don't have that here. We have a massive color space on this screen. So reds are going to absolutely pop. You also see that greens will be incredibly vibrant. And because it's a non-glossy screen, it's so immersive, right? So I get all the benefits that I typically talk about with like an IPS screen, high color space IPS screen, but then you also get the absolute blacks on top of that. It really is such a nice screen. I guess like it'd be hard for you to test this, but I don't know, go into like a Best Buy or something like that, like a local Best Buy or whatever computer shop you have near you, and see if they have this model, the 290HX with the OLED, high color space OLED. I highly recommend you try it. Just look at the screen. Just watch some videos, watch some shows if they have game demos, whatever. Trust me, try this screen out. It's crazy. It's so good. Look at how vibrant those greens look. Incredibly vibrant. Right? For content consumption, watching shows, playing games, you're going to have a very hard time beating the screen. I don't think I've used a better screen. Like there's mini LEDs and that kind of stuff, but they have weirdness to them. There's lots of OLEDs out there, but then you're often dealing with glare. Some OLEDs, like, you can get high-end ThinkPads and that from Lenovo, and they have, the OLEDs, but they, they're creators, so they have like a touchscreen filter, and you can sometimes get like actual like hazing on it where you can actually see the touchscreen filter. We don't have any of that. It's just such a nice screen. And you guys know I'm the screen guy. I'm very critical. I'm very critical of screens. If it doesn't live up to my standards, I will shit on the screen in the video. I will absolutely shut it down. It is such a nice screen. This screen alone is enough reason for me to buy this laptop. Truly, like, I'm not lying, I'm not joking. This screen alone is like, yeah, I'd buy this just because of the screen. It's so good. All right, anyways, so let's test it out and see how it sounds. We'll test the volume as well, but let's just see how it sounds. Volume controls over here, just dedicated controls. Yeah, so this all does work. You can play with that how you want. Honestly, music just sounds the best, just by default. Okay, so they're pretty decent speakers. Honestly, they're not bad. They don't have a ton of low-end bass. It is there, like there is low-end bass. It's just not a ton of it. It's more of, mid-range to high is there. Lots of mid-range and high, clear, no tinniness or hollowness. Again, it's not gonna beat out even from Dell and Alienware. I mean, you go with the Area 51, they're gonna sound better. And then from Dell as a larger company, you get into the high-end XPS stuff, obviously it's going to sound better. Those are like creator style laptops. They're designed specifically to have premium speakers, premium audio. But this is fine. Honestly, I don't have a problem with it. I will tell you the honest truth. My gaming laptop is not this brand here. It's not this model here. I don't have this one as a model. But my gaming laptop doesn't sound this good, put it that way. I actually have a couple Dell right now on hand. I have an XPS that I'm reviewing, a Panther Lake one, and obviously it sounds better. Like it's a Panther Lake Dell XPS premium laptop. Obviously it sounds better. But this sounds way better than my gaming laptop. I will be quite clear. So not bad at all. Now the specs of this specific laptop, like this configuration, are obviously quite impressive. It's a reasonably compact laptop. Obviously it is a gaming laptop, so it is focused on performance over being the thinnest thing in the world, and that's a good thing for what it is. You do get that 290HX plus CPU. It's not my first time with it, it's my second time with it. It's very good. Very, very good. I use a 275HX on my daily driver laptop right now, and this is just better. It's just a better CPU. So they're both good. You can get this with the 275HX, but the 290 does offer better performance. No threading or anything like that, hyper-threading. It's just 24 cores. RAM, again, you can upgrade it. Just standard RAM, no problems there. The Wi-Fi 7 is obviously nice. We already talked about that. And then, of course, when we get to the gaming part, it's not important here, but when we get to the gaming part, we do have that 5070 Ti. So obviously, the combination of the 290HX Plus, an awesome CPU for heavy CPU tasks and gaming, and then we get the sweet spot for premium gaming is the 5070 Ti. Nothing wrong with the 5060, nothing wrong with the 5070, nothing wrong with the 5080 or the 90, but the 5070 Ti for this generation, I've already said it many times, it is the sweet spot for gaming. You get 12 gigabytes of VRAM, you get reasonable thermal performance, with typically between 120 and 130 watts, sometimes 140, but more reasonable than the 4080, 5080, 5090. But you do get a pretty considerable jump over things like the 5060, 5070. So that's a good sweet spot there. But the CPU here, let's give it a quick run. So noise-wise, the computer is completely silent. Now we are in silent mode. So come in here, we are in silent, or quiet mode, sorry. It's silent. I can't hear the laptop at all. It's completely silent. Now my noise floor right now is slightly higher because it's not nighttime. So there's just like ambient city noises. I'm in a downtown kind of area, just ambient city noises, house noises. This is as quiet. I literally cannot hear the laptop. I'm not even actually sure if the fans are on. Just one second. Oh, well, of course I can't hear it. The fans aren't on. Okay, so the fans aren't on, so there's nothing to hear. So that'll give us a basis of our noise floor. When there is literally no fans, they're not on. So daytime noise, house noise is 33, whatever. 36. Okay, so we'll go through these different modes here. We'll actually start in the reverse. We're gonna come with quiet, then we'll go balance and performance. We'll work our way up in terms of performance, just see what it's doing. Idle watts here, where are we at here? Let's see where we're at. Idle, it's kind of semi-idle. I'm kind of doing things. I've been messing around on YouTube and that kind of stuff, so there will be a little bit of wattage, but let's see here. Yeah, it'll bump up and down. So it's doing something. Let's see what it's actually doing right now. Something's going on here. CPU is doing something. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, so you'll find that this chip, it depends what you're doing, right? It'll idle around 5, sometimes even 6. When you're just kind of messing about, you're doing that kind of stuff, it'll jump up and down. You'll get 11, 12, it depends what you're doing. But typically with these Aero-like CPUs, one of the nice things about them is they do have tons of power, but they tend to also drop down quickly. So when you do something, the power spikes up. And then when you stop doing something, the power drops down. You can see, it's creeping down now. And when we start doing things, it'll go up. But anyways, let's come in here. We'll do a silent mode run here. Check for noise and thermals. Then we'll of course do, this is the quiet mode here, and then we'll do the, balance and the performance there. We can try the rage mode, but whatever. Now it will get hotter in this mode because it's going to have a much more gentle fan curve. It's going to take a moment for the fan will kick up. That initial boost there was 150 watts. It's a lot for quiet mode, and then it's going to drop down to, looks like sub 60 as a static here in this mode. Look how freaking fast it is. 31,000. In quiet mode, which is that's upper level desktop performance, well up into upper level desktop performance. Right? I have a 9800 X3D desktop, it's not even close to this fast, not even close. Right? This is getting into 9900X or Intel 250K type performance under full oomph, and we're in quiet here. Now it'll drop down when that initial boost goes. We're still at 50-ish, and now we're going to sit at around 30K, which is awesome. That's very good for a quiet mode, and it's very quiet. The fans are on now. I can hear them, but what did we add? 2 or 3 dB? Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, so around 30,000, 29 to 30,000 will be the final score here. But you do get an initial boost. So if you're doing some single task where you're just doing a single run of something, it'll have that boost. Okay, that's good. Let's stop it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here. We're going to go into balance mode. We'll run it again, see how noisy that is. And of course, we'll then try performance. Okay, so we'll try balance now. Just gave it a moment for any type of CPU boost to regenerate. Slightly higher, but very similar, 150, 160. Very good. That'll run longer in theory on balance mode than it will on silent. You can see here silent, it basically ran off in a few seconds. Here, it's going to give it longer. So as a result, this score is not going to drop down very much because it's just going to stay there, right? That initial boost was fast, but now it's going to continue to be fast. Now we're looking at, top level desktop performance, like the best desktop CPUs you can buy as a consumer. We're getting into that range here, crazy fast. Now it is going to run hot, but it's not going to damage itself. It's running at 100, but we're also running this thing at disgusting speeds here. Now it's coming here. It's still pretty quiet. I mean, it might look loud on this dB meter, but it's not that loud to me. It could be where the fan is designed, where you have it encased and it's pulling air along the laptop. As a result, it sounds kind of like the fan is muffled, like it's not as loud. It's not as pitchy. I can't hear it as much because it's kind of contained within the laptop. It's not making any high-pitched or woo 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 type noise, and no annoying sound. It's just there's a fan on. It is very not annoying, we'll put it that way. Okay, we'll do the performance mode run now. See how this bad boy goes now. I do suspect it to get fairly loud here now, but it probably won't be as much of a performance boost as you might think because it was doing so much in that balanced mode. Same peak here, around 160-ish. Let's see what it sustains though, long term. Okay, so long-term kind of run here, it looks like we're still going to sustain around the same anyway, so the score will be about the same. Okay, we'll just rip out some real quick benchmarks here. Wi-Fi is very fast. This is as fast as my Wi-Fi can possibly go. I don't have the best internet right now, but that is as fast as it can go. Included NVMe is very good. Upper tier Gen 4 drive. These Kioxia BG7, I've used them many times. They're OEM style drives, and they're good. They're in a lot of Alienware laptops. Very good. Battery life is going to be very good on this laptop. Now, this is an HX Arrow Lake chip. People used to, justifiably so, see that HX chips had bad battery life. It's not so with Intel anymore. You can see here that we're going to idle down around 11. Again, this is a bloated system, full brightness, all that. I don't have anything cleaned up. Once you get your system cleaned up, bloated, debloated, you'll get better battery life. But you're going to be looking at probably around a 10 watt idle, potentially lower, even 8, depending on how you get it down to. And that's going to give you 8, 9, even 10 hours battery life, somewhere around there, depending on what you're doing. So that's very good. And when you go over here and you do some 1080p 60 YouTube, battery is still going to be quite good because we're actually only increasing the wattage burn by a few watts total. So here we're looking at around probably about 7-ish hours or so of YouTube playback, again, on a bloated system and full brightness and all that. That's very good for an HX chip. So these chips will idle down quite low for what they are, considering how powerful they are. The other thing is because they're so powerful, they will not need to work as hard to get a job done. So if you are navigating around in Windows on battery, it'll get the job done very quick, and then it can go back to this lower resting state, meaning very good battery. Okay, so we're going to do some Pragmata. We could do, bazillion different games. We could do all kinds of stuff. But what I'm interested in here is more just the wattage scaling, the performance, and all that kind of stuff. We know how this game runs on this general hardware, but let's see how it runs in terms of the hardware, in terms of thermals, wattages, all that kind of stuff. Now I am on DGPU mode, so I did go into the muck switch and disable the integrated graphics just for this test. We can see here we're on balance just high, no scaling or anything like that. We're not going to be VRAM problems here, but let's just come in, we'll do a little bit of testing. We can come back and kick out to more demanding performance as well. But then we'll just go native. We'll just show you how powerful this 5070 Ti will be. Now also we are going to test the different performance modes, so we'll come down here. And we'll go like that. And we can try performance, balanced. We can try quiet as well. It should perform just fine on quiet, to be honest. Now, one of the nice things about Blackwell GPUs and the previous generation ATA, but Blackwell is what we're at right now, the 5000 series NVIDIA, they're very efficient. So even at lower watts, it's still going to be quite performant. So we're going to come in here, we're going to go to this rage mode. Oops. Performance is set to high performance mode. So you can see all those settings went away. And let's see what we can get here. So now the 5070 Ti, depending on the laptop that you're working with, can peak at about 130. I think it can technically go higher, but typically you're looking at about 130 watts. We're not going to get that here. This is not the highest wattage variant of it, but it looks like we're still getting 110 to 115, depending on what we're at here, which is still very good. If you know my channel and you've watched it, I've done a lot of wattage scaling on even full wattage 5070 Ti systems. And generally speaking, as you decrease the watts come down. You don't have a performance that drops with it. Typically, the performance drops much slower than the watts. So yes, there would be a little bit of performance left on the table by being at 115 watts rather than 130, but trust me, it's not as much as you think. Honestly, it's not as much as you think. It might be a few FPS. Again, if you're looking at the full peak, absolute max performance, everything, even if you want to go with the Alienware stuff specifically, there is the Area 51, which is their more performance stuff. They have market segmentation. Most brands do this. So performance mode will just kind of sit like this. I just want to make sure you can actually see. So we'll sit like that. It's a very demanding scene. There's a big draw distance. CPU and GPU getting hit heavy. You can see here the CPU is pulling around 30 watts. No problem. It's not going to run super hot. It's around 80. It's a little warmer. And the GPU is a little hot, but it's not like really hot. Right? The CPU and GPU can get hotter. Again, thinner laptop. Right? It's not a big, thick, massive laptop. VRAM is nice. We do have that extra 12 gigabytes, extra 2 gigabytes because we have 12 to work with, so that's nice. GPU pulling a pretty static 115, and I'm happy with that. Again, some of these systems, the 5070 Ti's, like I've tested the Acer Predator Helios Neo 16S, what a name, and it can only do like 95 to 100. It's just thin laptop. This one is giving you more, And it's fine. Again, it's 5000 series Blackwell. It's okay with wattage scaling. Anyway, so excellent performance here. Again, this is pretty high settings, and we're not having problems. The VRAM is over 8 gigabytes. So if we had a 5070 or a 5060, we would be really chugging here because of the VRAM issues. And we don't have that. We have the extra 12 gigabytes, extra 2 gigabytes. This is no scaling, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to kick out of that performance mode. Now we're just into standard performance mode. So it'll be a lot quieter, right? So obviously the noise goes down. We'll have to mute the game. It'll be a little louder in performance mode, but it's not bad. Honestly, this laptop is not bad because it's not a super high wattage variant. Like it might pick up louder on the microphone, but it's not that bad, honestly, in performance mode. It doesn't bother me. Now the wattage here is a little bit lower. You can see we're sitting around 100 to 105. It bounces around, but let's just say plus minus right about 100 or so. And the CPU is down too. So the CPU has dropped down about 10 and the GPU has dropped around 10. So we're down about 20-ish watts, maybe 25. And the performance is really not that different. You can see there. It is down. Of course it is down. But it's not, we're not down like 50 FPS or something like that. We're still getting 1600p balanced, no scaling, and we're getting very, very, very playable. That's one of the nice things I like about the 5070 Ti. The 5070 Ti does scale very well as you lower the watts, and it still performs very well. And to be honest, the Aero like HX stuff does too. As you can see here, we're not choking, despite the fact that that big CPU is only down at 25 watts now. Okay, we'll come down here, we're going to go balanced. This should be a pretty big drop, I would assume, in peak wattages, but let's see how it affects performance. So remember where we were at, we're just in the like kind of mid upper 90s. We're not down that much performance, and the watts are way down, right? The GPU is now down to about 90-ish. See where it sits at, but I think it'll peak, I think it'll sit around 90, right? So now we're way down, and the CPU is about the same. So we're primarily dropping off the GPU, but even with that considerable wattage drop, we're not losing that much performance, a few percent, right? Single-digit percentages. Very quiet now. Okay, now we're going on to quiet mode, and I do suspect it will perform reasonable. We should see a considerable drop in performance here, but the wattages are still going to be enough to sustain. And look at that, right? Only 65 watts on the 5070 Ti. 65 watts on a 5070 Ti is very functional, right? We are running at about almost half the watts of what the GPU can do peak, but we have not lost 50% performance. That's why I like the Blackwell NVIDIA stuff, right? There's still some of you guys in the audience, I get it, like you're still stuck on the Ampere stuff, the 3000 series NVIDIA, the 3070, and it's like, well, it's not running at full watts, so the performance sucks. We need full watts, max watts on the 3080. Yeah, but that's old tech. We're not in that tech anymore. We're into Ada and now Blackwell, where they're much more efficient. When you decrease the watts to these GPUs, and of course the CPUs, we do not get an absolute tanking in performance. We went from 35 to 40, and we went from about 115 peak. That is a huge drop in watts. We've halved the system watts, and we've only lost 20% performance, something like that, for half the watts, right? The laptop is very quiet now. Again, the mic might exaggerate, but it's very quiet to me. This is quieter than my handheld, my gaming handheld. And again, we're over 60, easy over 60 on quiet mode. That's the benefit of the 5070 Ti. We have all that extra VRAM. The CPU, the HX 290, is a beast in gaming and in benchmarking type stuff, synthetics. Both had high and low watts. Now, I'm not trying to push a narrative that, ooh, you have to use low watts, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I primarily game on lower watts. I just like it. I just like quiet. I don't like loud. I don't like loudness. So I would typically be gaming on this thing on balance mode, or even quiet, honestly. Look at it. This is 1600p with balanced scaling now, right? And you're not going to be able to tell that DLSS is on, not at this resolution. Now, the other thing I'd like to point out here is this screen looks crazy good. Let me actually bring out my phone camera, because typically my phone camera gets better color capturing. All right, let's bring in my phone camera here. You'll see it splice in. And look at how vivid that is. That is such a good screen. Pragmata is really nice because it's just such a colorful game. Like there's so much vibrancy. They don't try to make it like this gray, ugly mess, brown mess. It's a beautiful, vivid game. Very nice. And of course, because you have these OLED blacks, there's going to be areas that are darker that really pop off the screen and help with the, you know, the dark tones and that kind of stuff. Right. It's just a really nice screen overall. Very, very, very nice screen. So for gaming, I mean, you're going to love to game on this screen, to be honest. Okay, so now we're jumping in here. I've actually turned it all the way up to the max preset. So we're all the way up to the quality preset, which is, honestly, it's really hard to run. We are no scaling. So quality preset, no scaling. And look at that. Game maxed out, no scaling, full native. Again, that 150 watts on the GPU, totally fine. Putting in work. Look at that. 79 FPS, amazing lows too, so it's going to be very playable on this max preset. Very, very, very playable. Now it's loud, but maybe you don't care, right? Come in here, let's see what this thing can do. Now I always test native because that's the real performance of the thing, but I do use scaling, of course, especially nowadays with the quality of upscaling, how far it's come. So balanced DLSS should take off quite a bit. Right now we're at 105 FPS, very good performance. Lows are 90, so it's going to be excellent. The image does not look any softer, not with this level of scaling at this resolution. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go all the way down to silent mode, or quiet mode, sorry. Quiet mode. And I'm going to game in quiet mode on quality preset. So the highest preset, the quietest, weakest mode. And by the way, I have no idea how to play this game without a controller. I should probably whip my controller. I actually don't know how to, I don't know how to move the little stun gauge thing. What do you use? How do you do it? How do you do it? I don't know how to do it. Sure, just die with that. But anyways, as you can see here, it's performing quite well. Again, this is silent mode, right? Or quiet mode, sorry. Keep saying silent mode. Anyways, so there you go, right? It's going to run fantastic. So generally speaking, the performance is excellent. We could test a million games, but I've proven it here. This thing has the chops to get it done. The GPU goes up to 115, more than enough, honestly, 5070 Ti. I'm not going to complain about it. Even in performance mode, you're at 105. That's usually how I would play. A lot of the time, even silent mode, it's going to just fly. So you have lots of options to game and game well on this thing. Okay, let's conclude. I know that there's going to be reviewers out there who look at this laptop and say, it's terrible because it only runs at 115 watts on the 5070 Ti, and the 5070 Ti has to be 130. That's their voice. That's how I assume that they sound. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Yes, 130 watts would unlock more potential on something like this. But I don't always want to have absolute peak wattage in every scenario. This is a Blackwell GPU. This is not an Ampere 3000 series, like a 3070, 3080, where when you decrease the watts, the performance tanked and became terrible. This is a Blackwell GPU. These are meant to be efficient. That is one of the primary things that NVIDIA has pushed these GPUs to be. That's one of their selling features. You decrease the watts a lot, but you do not decrease the performance a lot when you do that. So this thing here only being 15 watts under the peak, 130 to 115, you're only looking at single digit percentage difference in performance. But as a result, it's much easier to cool. So you don't have to have as more robust of a cooling system in here, which keeps the weight down and keeps the cost down. It also allows you to put in something like a 290HX, which is a big CPU. That Arrow Lake CPU, though, also is quite efficient at low watts as well. So we have a system here that, yeah, when you take the training wheels off and you let it go, it is going to perform quite well. It's going to have a lot of performance on the CPU and GPU. But when you have this thing in, for example, quiet mode, low watts on the GPU, low watts on the CPU, it's still very performant, very performant. Most of the time I would be running this laptop in quiet mode or balance mode. But even performance mode's not that loud. Honestly, this is not a loud laptop in performance mode. When you unleash it and you put it into ultra performance mode, yeah, it's loud, obviously. But in the other modes, they're actually very reasonable. So that's one of the things I like about it. It's very premium chassis. I mean, metal bottom, metal lid. This is plastic here, but it feels nice. Great keyboard. Build quality is nice. Inside, I mean, you get really accessible dual RAM, dual SODIMM, 2 NVMe's, everything, massive battery, great. On the battery note, you're going to get good battery life out of it. The GPU should sleep properly. If you do, if you don't have Windows doing dumb things. As a result, you only have the real, the HX chip here, the CPU, but the Arrow Lake HX chips are very efficient. They can actually idle pretty low in watts, and when you do something with them, like say you supply some work to the CPU, it'll boost up, then it'll come right back down real fast. So these things get pretty damn good battery life, honestly. It's not gonna beat out a Panther Lake. Like I have a Dell XPS with a Panther Lake chip, and yeah, it has crazy battery. I'm working on a review, I bought that last week. It's a totally different thing though. It's a totally different thing. That's a Panther Lake laptop from Dell. This is a gaming laptop. But for what it is, very efficient. Speakers are pretty decent. No problems there. No problems. Now, some really impressive things about this laptop. The screen is crazy on this laptop. It's crazy. You're getting a 1600p, 240 hertz OLED screen with 120% DCI-P3, crazy color space, and it's non-glossy, right? I have a big light behind the camera right there. If this thing was reflective, this would be a mirror. My entire filming setup behind the camera would just be like a full reflection, especially with this dark stuff here. You'll see a little bit of light reflecting on this because I have a giant spotlight behind you, but this thing is so good. This is my screen. This is my screen, right? When I pick a laptop screen and I'm like, this is the tech that every laptop should have, I'm gonna pick this one. An OLED that's anti-gloss, but it doesn't look muddy for anti-gloss. Right? No screen door effect, reasonably bright for what it is. Obviously, it's going to keep the cost down as well, which is really nice, and crazy good colors. High refresh, what more would you want? It's a really nice laptop, okay? So if you're looking at this here, and the nice thing, Dell often has, good sales, good coupons and that kind of stuff. The prices on the market right now are really high. Everything's really expensive. Right? Everything's really expensive right now, but now's the time that a laptop like this can help you keep costs down a little bit while still getting into premium level performance with other nice stuff like a really crazy good screen. So I like it. I think it's great. I think that there will be some reviewers out there, you guys know who you are if you watch my videos, who are going to be really upset that this thing doesn't give you 130 watts on the GPU, and I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care. I think it's fantastic. I think it performs very well at 115, and honestly, I just throw it in performance mode, which is only 105, and it just flies because it's a 5070 Ti. This is not 2001. I'm sorry, guys. It's not 2001. We have efficiency. Things are efficient now, and I love that. And the screen just sells it to me. So that's the laptop. Do I like it? Yes, I do. The Area 51 is obviously going to be a bigger, more performant laptop. So if you want balls to the walls performance, you're still not going to supplant the Area 51. The Area 51 is honestly, for 2025, I think the Area 51 is probably the most premium max performance laptop that I reviewed of all of them, and that's the Alienware one. That's for all the competition. I'm pretty sure that was the most I like that one the most. I can pretty much stand on that right now, but that means that this one here, which is also very premium, and yeah, you step the performance down a little bit, I'm still gonna like it. You can keep costs down, you can get a great laptop.